I want to introduce everyone to Swami Vimanananda, Debbie Sher, and who is a disciple and a Swami. And she's been working for years with astrology and dreams and meditation and all kinds of other esoteric yogic sciences for a really long time. And her main interest is Kriya Shiva Yoga, the yoga of the dream state, and has served Kriya Yoga as a teacher, seminary advisor, spiritual guidance counselor. And we're really happy to have her today for the first Sunday meditation. And Debbie is going to be talking about the splendid sacred Gayatri mantra. Please go ahead, Swamiji.
Namaste. Well, the Gayatri mantra is one of the oldest mantras. It's from the Rig Veda, which is the oldest Veda, approximately 3000 BCE, maybe older. And it's known as the mother of all mantras, the most powerful mantra, the most holy mantra, the most sacred mantra. And why? Because it's said to reveal the secrets of the Vedas. It contains the Mahaviriti, which is the great utterance, Om Bhuva Svaha. And it contains the essence of the self, the energy of the sun, and then its three parts. And it goes like this. Om Bhuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachorayata. O Lord of the three worlds, bestower of happiness and dissolver of obstacles, may you yourself illumine our minds. We meditate on that radiant light that has given birth to and vivifies all planes of consciousness, who is known by attunement to the inner sun. May we awaken as that light. Now, this mantra is dedicated to Savitur, and the Savitur is the sun, a solar deity. So it invokes the primordial sun, the divine light, and the self-luminous inner light. So it's a mantra for illumination. And it's named after Gayatri Devi. Now, Gayatri Devi was the consort of Brahma, the creator. And it's also associated, there's three goddesses wrapped in one, three mints in one. There's Gayatri, who's the consort of Brahma, Savitri, who's the consort of Savitur, who is the sun, and Saraswati, another consort of Brahma. So they're all really three aspects of the same energy, this divine creative light energy, the three creative principles. Now, I want to talk a little bit about its anatomy. It's got 3 feet, and a foot means a line. And each foot contains 8 syllables. So 8 times 3 is 24. So it's known as the 24-letter mantra. And it's connected with 12 physical and 12 astral chakras. Now, if you look at it and you start from Om Bur, that's more than 24. But the counting should start at Tat. And if you go Tat Sabitur to the end, then it's 24 syllables. And there's 24 hours in a day, 24 spinal vertebrae. 24 is a very mystical number. It can be broken down into 3 parts. The first part is an invocation. The Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Bhu is the earth plane, the physical plane, the solar consciousness. Bhuva is the mental plane, the astral plane, the mental realm. And Swaha is the high heavens or causal plane. These are the lokas. Swaha is the realm of the soul. So basically, its purpose then is to lift you above these 3 planes to the solar unity principle and to bring the light down into all those 3 planes, permeating all those realms. So the first part is the invocation. It's the worship of the sun and the life source. And you visualize the light permeating all the planes. Now, the second part is meditation. Bargo means divine, effulgent, self-luminous. Devasya is divine, Supreme Lord. Dimahi, we meditate on that supreme light, that supreme Lord. And the third part is a prayer for wisdom and illumination, that light descends down and illumines our intellect. Yona prachodayat, may this light inspire and illuminate our intellect. So we meditate on the glory of that being who has produced this universe. May he himself illuminate our minds. Now, it has so many benefits. It purifies the physical, the astral, and the causal vehicles. It brings willpower and concentration. It brings in anything that you lack. It vivifies and strengthens, especially if astrologically you have a weak sun in your chart, it will vivify that. It bridges the gap between the ego self and the quote unquote real self or the higher self, the radiant reality. It's very protective, this mantra. It protects you from struggles and fear of this world, brings courage, all these solar principles. It gives expansion. It lifts you to the light. It brings spiritual awakening and divine communion. So here's how you practice it according to tradition. You should practice 3 times a day at sunrise or during the 48 minutes prior to sunrise, at noon and at sunset, facing the sun, wherever it is at that time. You should do it a repetition of 108 chants if you can, and if you can't, do as many as you can, or even just one. And if you can't do it 3 times a day, the most important one is the sunrise. So obviously you would face east in the morning and welcome the sun, or then toward the sun. And you take some water and you put it in your cupped hands and you offer it to the sun, which surrenders the ego to God. And you visualize this solar light as this brightness, expansion, absolute consciousness. And before you start the mantra, you can just feel that radiance, especially at the sunrise. It's a very, very sacred time. Now, why do they recommend 108 chanting times? Well, there's 108 beads on the mala. There's 9 planets, according to the Hindus, who count Rahu and Ketu, the moon's nodes. And there's 12 constellations. So 12 times 9 is 108. So it's said to bring 108 types of positive change. Now, Gayatri is also, besides being this mantra, it's a mantric rhythm of which there's 7 types. And each mantra has some characteristics to it. It has a rhythm, one of the 7. And there's Gayatris you can do for other planets and deities. It's not just for the sun. So you can use that rhythm for worshiping other deities or invoking those energies. It has a Devi that it's connected with, which we know is Gayatri, Devi, Savitri. And then we have a Rishi, who is the sage that discovered this mantra in deep states of meditation. So I would like to tell you the story of how this mantra was revealed. Once upon a yogi time, there was a king, a great king, and his name was Vishvamitra. And Vishvamitra was out hunting with 1,000 soldiers, and he got lost in the forest. And in the distance, he saw a hut. And this was the hut of a sage named Vashista. So for simplicity, I may refer to the king and the sage, just so you differentiate those. So the king, being hungry and tired, he went up to the hut and knocked on the door. And Vishvamitra, the sage, opened the door, said, "Welcome." And the king said, we're hungry, tired, etc. And uh, the sage said, that's no problem because I have this special cow, this wish cow. Um, I believe its name is Vamadeva. And the cow produced enough food to feed all those 1,000 soldiers. And when the king saw this, he's like, hey, I want that cow for myself. That'd be very, very useful. Can I buy this wish cow from you? And the sage said, no, I'm sorry. That's a special cow that is not for sale. It's a holy cow, a sacred cow. So then the king got very angry. He says, I'm the king. That belongs with me. If you won't sell me that, I'm going to take it by force. And he started shooting arrows at the sage. And the sage just picked up his standa staff, and all the staff just caught all the arrows. So he couldn't hurt the sage and he couldn't steal the cow. He was very, very angry. And then the sage said, listen, all you have to do, you can gain your own wish cow, but all you have to do is gain the yoga siddhi and you have to become a brahmarsi, which is a God realized sage. So the king just worked up all his resolve, was very angry, says, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go off and be a brahmarsi and get yoga siddhi, and then I'm going to come back and get revenge on you. So what he did was he went up high in the Himalaya mountains and he did intense tapas. And his tapas was so strong it started burning up the heavens. And Indra, the lord of the heavens, became scared. So he says, I got to do something. And he sent down a beautiful nymph to distract the king. And the king fell in love with this nymph and he dropped the tapas for many years and married the nymph. And then years later, he says, wait a minute, something's in the back of my mind. He started remembering, wait, I was going to do tapas and become a brahmarsi. Uh, so he left the nymph and he climbed even higher and higher and higher up in the mountains. He doubled up his sadhana. He gave up food and drink. And the heavens started burning again. And so Indra sent a second nymph, but this time the nymph, it didn't work. The Vishwamitra was wise to this. But he made a different mistake. People started realizing this person has powers. I can ask him boons. So there was a king who wanted to go up to heaven, but in his physical body, which is not permitted. He says, can you use your power to get me up to heaven in my body? And so Vishwamitra, the king, says, yes, I'll do that for you. He started pushing him up to heaven, but every time he pushed the guy up to heaven, Indra pushed him back down. So finally, the king said, okay, I'll build you your own heaven and you go up there and do what you want. Again, very forbidden thing to do, a misuse of yoga siddhi. And then when he was reflecting on that, he became ashamed. He said, wait a minute, what am I doing? This is not the way to behave if I want to be a God realized sage. I'm not going to abuse my powers. So he climbed to the highest peak in the Himalayas, increased his tapas, stood on one foot, and finally, at last, his tapas was so profound, he reached the abode of Brahma. And Brahma said, you've done it. You've done enough tapas. You are now an enlightened sage. But all that remains, it's you need to go back to that hut and ask that sage Vashista for his blessing. And once again, anger arose in the king. He said, no, I vowed to kill that man. I'm not going to go ask his blessing. He went down there and he got a big rock and he was going to kill the sage. But then he heard the sage and his wife discussing the Vedas and he became ashamed. He said, wait a minute. I did all this tapas, ahimsa and all these things. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm going to drop this anger. And he fell prostrate at the sage's feet and asked for his blessing. And the sage Vashista blessed him and said, you are now a Brahmarsi, a cosmically enlightened sage. And he touched the king on his third eye. The eye opened, and guess what he saw? The Gayatri mantra. So in closing, Let's practice one more time, if you would. Just take a deep breath, let it go. Pull your energies inward from the legs and the arms into the spine, from the spine into the center of the spine, and ascend upward to that sun center. And we'll chant Om Bhur Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachurayat. O Lord of the three worlds, bestower of happiness and dissolver of obstacles, may you yourself illumine our minds. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.